Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It is good to be with you guys today. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always.
What's up?
And we are back. We're back in the grind. The fantasy football offseason grind as we head into the Divisional Round weekend. Usually at this point in the year, I'm like, okay, all right, AFC Championships this weekend. But no, one week later, I like it. So the Divisional Round is this weekend. We didn't really talk about some breakout players that may or may not have arose this weekend.
It's true.
Dawson Knox.
Yeah, he's definitely number one, I think, on the list. I saw him go for a crazy package in a Dynasty League.
Yikes.
It is tight end premium, so I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Like, oh my God, the future. Like, wow. Josh Allen got his Travis Kelce, but he's actually young and
scary, man.
Yeah. So anyway, so today we are going to do a mock draft for the 2022 fantasy football season.
In January.
Firstly. Freaking January. No,
it's kind of a mock draft.
It's kind of a mock draft. So we are going to run through what we think will happen in the first round, and we will be doing some dynasty startup mock drafts and stuff like that in the coming weeks. But this particular mock draft is for redraft, and we're going to project out the top 12 picks of the first round for 2022 fantasy football as best we can. Last year we had some takes. Some of them fell flat. I wish we could bring up some of the information that we had last year, and I don't have that draft on my phone anymore. So I do have a video on YouTube, which I will not reference.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's a fun show. It gives you a little bit of insight into what may happen next year. And there's going to be some good guys taken on this board. So,
definitely.
All right. Before we do that, check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Type the FF Champs in, you'll find us. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, please leave a review. Share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like, and comment down below any questions you might have about this mock draft. And if you've started mock drafting at all, share some mock drafts that you've done this early. ADP's not adjusted. We still got last year's ADP.
I don't know if anyone's done it, but sure.
So we'll see what happens with this one. But I'm not even going to start it. I'm just going to set guys because that's what's fun. So anyway, you ready to get started with this, Ricardo?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to pick a guy, and then Rick is going to pick a guy, and then I'm going to pick a guy, and we're just going to go back and forth. We each get 6 picks here in the first round. I believe we're going to do the second round possibly, which would be interesting. See where we go with that. But we have to take into account maybe some foreshadowing of some hype once we get later into the first round of some guys that may come to fruition.
Especially that like 9 to 12 range.
I think by the end of it, Najee was a top 10 pick, top 12 pick last year.
I don't know if he got top 10. But he was definitely top 15.
I don't know if there's any rookies entered into this. Oh, they already got the rookies populated on Sleeper. Okay. Oh, never mind. It's a mix. They got... wasn't Tamrion Terry last year?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Never mind. Maybe these guys are from last year. I got Demonte Coxey. I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is either.
Anyway, so yeah, there probably won't be any rookies in the first round. I don't think this class will have any rookies for the first round. But anyway, I will start without further ado. So with the first pick of our first mock draft in the first round, I'm gonna have to go out on a limb and and take a risky pick here, which would be Jonathan Taylor. I think JT. Oh, wow, dude.
Whoa.
That sound was so loud. Did you hear that? Sleeper,
Yes.
Shut up, dude. I got to mute that. Holy crap. That scared the crap out of me. Anyway, so Jonathan Taylor, I think he made the best case to being the 101. Obviously, I think if you go back to the middle of the season, I probably would have been like, Morgan, you idiot. What are you doing? But he had such a good second half of the season. It was really after that horrible start for the Indianapolis Colts. They went like 0-5. 0-6.
Yes.
And then they started using Jonathan Taylor, and all of a sudden they started winning football games. Wow, surprising. So Jonathan Taylor kind of went off, and he has been ridiculously good ever since. We knew he was good. He was good last year. He's even better this year. He's extremely young. Is he still 22?
I think he'll be 23 next season.
So he's still very young.
But he's 22 right now. Yeah.
This is the start of Jonathan Taylor in his prime. And you thought this year was that. He might be one of the most raw talents at the running back position in the NFL right now. But besides all of that, he was the RB1 in fantasy football this year, and I don't put him 101, and I'm gonna rank him probably 1 in my RB rankings in a few months. And the reason why I say that is because I think that this guy has probably the best chance of repeating that I've seen, because there's nothing really standing in his way of doing it.
Well, it's just a crazy season from somebody,
I know.
I mean, but he's going to be good no matter what.
He's going to be good no matter what.
And he's going to be for the next few years,
So, but I think he has ascended to that top 101 status at this point, and I would take him in that spot if I was drafting. I have that much faith in him. He is there's nothing else to say. I mean, he pass catches, he rushes, he does everything, and they use him for everything, and they're a run first football team. So, and the concerns that we all had about, maybe they're going to use the backup running backs a little bit more. That's all gone.
All gone.
So, JT 101.
Yeah, I think that was the right pick. And is this half PPR or PPR? I guess it doesn't
we'll just say it's PPR. I don't even know where
PPR.
It says standard snake draft at the top. So,
now I would not take this guy number
2. I'm going to switch it right now to PPR for you.
So PPR might actually even change it. And I wouldn't take this guy number 2, but just because of the name and the season that he was having, I would say Derrick Henry would probably, as of right now, go second overall. Again, I would not take him. I think age plays a factor, but he was so dominant. He was actually better than Jonathan Taylor before he got hurt. He was averaging in PPR 24 fantasy points per game through the first 8 games of the season, which is slightly higher than what Taylor finished on the year.
Excuse me.
Again, that's only half a season. And he's, I think he'll be 29 at some point next year. So he's definitely going to reach. Yeah, he's 28 right now.
I did it again.
So it's gonna, you got fixed. It's gonna reach.
I just turned it off. I left the mock draft and I came back in and turned the sound back on. Oh my god, dude!
At some point, he's gonna hit a wall. I think it's gonna be sooner rather than later. But I think as of right now, just by name and what he's been able to do the last few seasons, I think Derrick Henry is probably the safest pick for a lot of people, and we'll go number 2.
Yeah. I would have to agree with that. I think people do feel like Derrick Henry does provide a sense of
there's a couple guys
consistency and safety, like that he's automatically the amount of work that they give him, he automatically is just going to score a lot of fantasy points, which 400 plus opportunities. Yeah, he's going to score a lot of fantasy points.
Right.
The problem is he's 29 years old. He's got a lot of wear on those tires in just 2 or 3 seasons of them giving him this full workload. And as good as Derrick Henry has been, I am really nervous about a form of injury or just a running back cliff.
Yes.
And
he's still going to be good, but I agree with you.
I could see him being similar to like, I want to say like Dalvin Cook this year. Because Cook ended up being really good in the long run. I think he finished in PPR. He finished as the wide receiver. the running back 6 or 7. I gotta look. Hold on. Didn't
he miss a couple games?
Yeah, he missed on a points per game basis. I should probably go.
Points per game.
So Derrick Henry obviously 24 points per game, 22 for Jonathan Taylor. Eckler had 21 points per game. Leonard Fournette had 18. Right? Christian McCaffrey had 18. I'm just going to qualify it with 10 or more games. Alvin Kamara, 18. Okay. Joe Mixon, 18. Najee, 17. James Conner, 17. DeAndre Swift, 16. And then Dalvin Cook, 15.9 with 206 fantasy points. He didn't play 4 games, so he probably would have finished in the top, I want to say 7 or 8. But I could see that happening to Derrick Henry this year.
Yes. Yep.
He ends up not finishing in that 2 slot where Dalvin Cook went last year in 2021. But I think Derrick Henry will finish somewhere around 7 or 8, and the 2 slot is going to be a little high for him in terms of drafts. I'll probably rank him like 4 to 6. And that's just me with Derrick Henry, but
that's fair. I'd probably rank him like 4 to 5. So I'm with you on that. Who would you take number 3, or who do you think will go number 3?
Okay, I think despite what happened this year, I do think that it's a toss-up between 2 guys, and I don't want to let go from last year, but I think Christian McCaffrey will probably end up being in the top 3 again. And
yep.
I kind of feel like he's going to... Personally, I kind of feel like he's going to fall to 5 or 6. If I had to take a guess. Like similar to where Kamara was too.
Yep.
But I think there's also a possibility that by the time the season floats around and we're doing mock drafts in July and August, that Christian McCaffrey is going to be in the top 3. And it's just because of how, like, I think there's going to be some people who got burned and are extremely nervous that he's going to get hurt again. But I think there's also people that realize how much opportunity that Christian McCaffrey gets. I mean, you have Derrick Henry. I don't know what he's going to play like this weekend.
He's still only 25.
But Christian McCaffrey's only 25 years old. He is coming off injuries.
He'll be 26, but still.
Like, the last 2 seasons, this guy has dealt with injury. So at some point, either he's going to continue being injured because that's just the future of his career and that's the end of Christian McCaffrey. Or if he my thing with Christian McCaffrey is that if he plays healthy, he's going to get 10 catches through the air every game like he does, and he's going to get 20 carries on the ground, and he's going to be McCaffrey. So I think people understand that. So McCaffrey will end up being a top 3 or 4 pick anyway. I would personally be like, okay, because of the injury stuff, 5 or 6 would be more comfortable for me. But if you're getting Christian McCaffrey at the 3rd pick, I feel like you're feeling really, really good about that.
Yeah, it's not too bad. So for the number 4 guy, I actually have a couple guys in mind. I think that could go on the spot. Because I would have had McCaffrey there at 3 too. I'm actually going to go with someone who I think will get the most offseason hype between the guys I'm deciding, and that's Najee Harris.
Okay, all right. I was just going to say, I thought it was going to be Eckler.
No, he's someone who I think is in that conversation. Either Eckler, Kamara, or Harris are the 3 guys I was thinking about. But I think Harris, between those 3, will have the most offseason hype just because what he was able to do as a rookie. And chances are they're going to improve the offensive line. There's a chance they get a quarterback upgrade. And if they go with a rookie quarterback, there's people that are going to just look at it as a good thing because they're just going to run the ball more, which might be the case. But maybe he does less in the receiving game. But either way, just based on hype, I think I could see that. He finished as the running back 3 this season. Even on points per game, I think he was like 7 or 8.
Yeah, he was. If we do a qualifier of let's say 12 or more games instead of 10, but it's he is the running back 6.
Right.
In a points per game.
So it's still, I mean, pretty high for a rookie. And again, he was number 3 on the season in total points. So I could just definitely see him going 4, even though maybe Eckler might be like the smarter pick. But there's going to be hype for Harris for sure.
Part of the issue with Najee is the loss of Big Ben. And there's a lot of stuff to happen to Pittsburgh in the offseason. I don't like Juju, I believe, signed a 1-year deal. He's gone, I think.
Probably.
Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool obviously stuck there. They got Freiermuth, who's good. And then obviously Najee, who's going to be really good. So right now, I mean, that offense is kind of just plug and play at quarterback. There's some options out there like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. I think you could see Jimmy Garoppolo in that conversation. Me and Rick talked yesterday about the possibility of the Raiders just completely imploding. Derek Carr could be a part of that conversation. I think it's more likely for Pittsburgh to go out and trade for a quarterback than try to develop one through the draft. Or they could do both. Go get a quarterback that can play now and develop like Kenny Pickett or somebody like that through the draft. So it could go either way. It could go both ways. I don't know. But if Kenny Pickett's the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers starting week 1 of 2022,
I don't feel great about that.
I don't feel great about taking Najee at 4. And I don't think that the fantasy community would feel great about it either. So I feel like he would fall somewhere around 7 or 8, similar to where Jonathan Taylor was. Because you remember Jonathan Taylor last offseason, a lot of people really liked him. And they were like, this guy could be 101. But they had the running backs there that, Frank Reich has an obsession with, and they were, Marlon Mack was still on the team, and people were like, okay, he's going to get work taken away from him. And so he fell 6 or 7. I think that could be where Najee goes, but if they do get a quarterback like Jimmy G or even like Russ or Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers, like if they end up with one of those guys, Najee is an easy lock top 3. I think he might actually go higher than McCaffrey. But if they get somebody that's like a journeyman like Jimmy Garoppolo, I think Najee is definitely 4. I think this is a safe place to put him. Good pick, Rick, because I didn't even see his freaking name.
All right.
I was like,
fair enough.
Who's he going to take? All right. So I think this is going to be the highest that this player has ever been taken in fantasy. And I'm not going to do it.
Oh.
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take Dalvin Cook.
I'll
leave him for you. I do think that Dalvin Cook, despite him having kind of an off year, finishing barely in the top 10 in points per game in PPR, despite all of that, I think there was just Dalvin Cook is a rhythm running back. He needs to kind of get into a groove. And I feel like all season he was just on and off the field, and it was hard for him to get into a groove. Minnesota did lose their head coach, so we have to keep an eye on that situation. They might get a guy who wants to use, because Madison was very formidable. He was very good when Dalvin Cook was out. So they might get a guy that wants to go split, and if that's the case, Cook becomes a little bit more scary and risky. Mm-hmm. But if they get a guy who wants to run the ball a lot, I think Minnesota, they did fire Mike Zimmer, right?
Did, yes.
Okay. I'm like talking out of my face, and I don't even know if the guy's fired. But anyway, so yeah, I think Dalvin Cook will be 100% okay if they get a coach that likes to run the football with a main running back. But if it starts going into an RBBC conversation, and that's where they go because they like both guys, this could be a really difficult pick to make for me. But I do think he'll probably end up 5 or 6. He kind of reminds me of remember Melvin Gordon back in the day?
Yes.
When he was good and he always got drafted 6 or 7. That's kind of what Cook reminds me of right now. Like he's starting to hit that point in his career where he's not really getting like sustainable injuries that are keeping him out for long periods of time, but he's just getting hit with the injury bug. I still think people believe in him. He'll probably be top 5. I'd love to get Dalvin Cook if he has a coach that believes in his running ability and wants to give him the ball 100 times like Mike Zimmer. 300 times like Mike Zimmer, then I love Dalvin Cook at 5. But a lot of questions and uncertainty surrounding him.
Right. Just looking at this, I think the best spot to draft is probably middle to late first round this year.
Yeah.
Just because there's a lot of running backs, I think, in this conversation. It's between 2 guys, but I'm going to say Eckler for PPR at number 6. It is probably the highest he's gone. It's probably the highest he might ever go. But the year that he had is just unquestionable. He was the RB2 in fantasy. He was RB3 in points per game. Mm-hmm. He's not super old. He's up there, but I think he's just pretty much the same age as Dalvin Cook. So the offense is probably, like, let's be honest, is the Chargers offense going to be really any different next year? It's still going to have Herbert, same coaching staff,
right.
Probably same receivers, similar group. I think if they're changing anything, it's going to probably be mostly defense, maybe another offensive lineman, but pretty much the offense is going to pretty much stay the same. And he had 21.5 points per game this year in PPR. So it's a pretty safe pick. It's a player that I think some people are gonna really look at and think they're getting a steal there at 6 based on what he did this year. But I think it's probably a good spot for him. He's a pretty safe pick too. I think he's got a good floor and we'll have another good season. But I don't think he's finishing RB3 or RB2, I should say.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm trying to think where I should go next here. Okay. Because it is kind of interesting. So we got guys like at the running back position, we obviously got Kamara. I think he was RB8 on the year and RB7 in points per game, something like that. With our qualifier of 12 games played. So there's Alvin Kamara. There is Nick Chubb. There's Joe Mixon, who I believe in PPR finished top 4. And he's kind of on the older side. There's some guys that I'm looking at, like Eckler, always that second round pick. Like we have him at 106 right now, and like Joe Mixon was this season enough for people to jump on that bandwagon and be like, let's go Joe Mixon in the first round. I don't know. There's also some other guys out there like DeAndre Swift, who had a really good season with the exception of missing some time and being a part of the Detroit Lions offense, that I could see people push up boards if Detroit does the right things this offseason and improves their team. So like it could be anybody here. And I really don't.
Javonte if Melvin Gordon.
I think early second round is probably where that guy's going to end up.
Yeah, agreed.
Or you could go with the wide receiver position where there's a plethora of really talented guys. I think I'm going to stick running back because I think that's what people are going to end up doing. And to me, it's between, I don't know if you think this is hot or not, but it's between Kamara and Chubb for me.
Okay. I know who I would take, or who I think would people take, at least. And I probably would take him too in PPR.
I'm going to have to say Kamara.
Yeah, that's the guy I think would go there. I mean, he finished, I'll let you talk about him, but he did it. According to our qualifier, he was the RB4 in points per game this year.
Oh, nice. All right. I said 7, so I must be smoking something.
Yeah, he was the RB4 in points per game. Other than for McCaffrey and Derrick Henry, but they didn't play enough games.
Yeah, no, Kamara, he's really good. I think, the only thing that concerns me is there's still no answers at quarterback, and he's 26 years old. So I still think he's going to be really good, but if they decide to go Taysom Hill this year, then there's some concerns for me there.
There's no way they Kamara. Do. I don't think there's any way they go back to Hill.
But I still think, like what are the chances he finishes 7 next year? Like really high, right?
Yes, I think so.
So I would definitely take Kamara. You're starting to see some of these guys though, like the younger guys are starting to infiltrate a little bit, and some of these older guys are falling back into the draft. But yeah, I would take Kamara 107.
Yeah. So here's where I take the first receiver off the board.
Okay, I'm gonna let you do that, and I'm interested because
I know it's hard. I think it should probably be Devonte Adams, but I'm gonna say it's gonna be Cooper Kupp.
You're gonna put Cooper Kupp in the first round?
Just based off the year that he had.
Okay.
PPR averaged 25.9 fantasy points per game. He had almost 100 fantasy points more. Yeah,
I can see people sneaking
than the second wide receiver, Devonte Adams. He's going to be in the same offense with Matt Stafford and Sean McVay. There's even a chance Odell leaves next year. Probably not going to stay at the Rams. He might, even so, he was great with them. He might even be better without him just because more targets. I think the way that he played this year and how he won people leagues, I think he's the first receiver off the board at the 108.
I got to add him.
You got to find him.
I got to find him. Not the ADP didn't match that. That's not a bad one. I just personally, I'm like, I feel like he's going to end up being a second round pick because I don't know if people, but like you look at the season he had and you're like, okay,
right.
Like people are
so much better
when normal people start drafting, Cooper Kupp's going to end up being like maybe even top 6. Like that would be ridiculous. But you're right. He's definitely a first round pick. And my brain's like, no. So I'm going to have to take the other guy I was thinking about, and that would be Nick Chubb. Chubb, on a points per game basis, he was similar to our boy Dalvin Cook. He was slightly disappointing this year in terms of like where he got drafted is kind of where he produced, but like we all have this thought that Nick Chubb's going to be this like featured running back. He keeps like running into these 3-4 week injuries, and I'm just waiting for that full season where we get to see Dalvin Cook 100% of the snaps and get that. But even like he's splitting time with Kareem Hunt still. There's just a lot of like questionable things going on with Chubb. Now, with that being said, he's still finished in points per game, I believe, as the 9th or 10th running back at 15.4 points per game. So he had a pretty good season. I think that it's enough to keep him here in the top 10 as the 109, but I would not be surprised if Joe Mixon ends up right after this pick of Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, that's who I would take here, or I think would go Joe Mixon. There are still people who are hesitant about him just because he burned them for like 2 straight years. But he had such a good year this year that it's hard not to put him in the top 10. Was the RB4 in fantasy, averaged 18 points per game. Is in an elite offense now, which is something that we couldn't say 2 years ago. He's now in a very, very good offense. I was tempted to go Swift here just because, the PPR thing, but I think Mixon is just a safer bet.
Okay. You always need a riser.
Yeah.
You always need a hot take.
Okay.
So I'm going to let you look at it.
Okay,
as I do it. So it's Jamar Chase.
Oh!
Jamar Chase is going to go 111. Before Adams.
That. I don't like it, but I like it. If that makes sense.
See, now this is what I would do. Process. If I'm late first round this year, I might draft Jamar Chase. I'm not obsessed.
Okay.
What he did in his rookie season as a top 5 receiver before he's even figured out how to play in the NFL is absurd. And the other thing that people don't realize about Jamar Chase that's not clicking in people's minds is that he finished top 5 at the wide receiver position as a rookie. That's already ridiculous. Rick, prior to week 1 of the NFL season, when was the last time Jamar Chase played a football game?
It was like 2019, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He didn't play.
Yeah, so he didn't play for a full season during COVID. And he still ended up as a top 5 receiver in fantasy football in the NFL. Honestly, this guy's the 101 in Dynasty. I would take him here in the first round in PPR. He is going to be I'm probably going to rank him wide receiver 1 this year because I'm stupid.
Did a total 180 from this time last year on Chase, huh?
I freaking love Jamar
in terms of like redrafts.
Oh yeah, 180. But 111 in reality might be slightly high. But I do feel like there's a lot of people like me who freaking love.
I don't even think it is. I think the hype for Chase, that's a good one. He's going to be, at least this would be the start of where he would go. I think I could see him anywhere from like 111 to like 2.3, 2.2.
Yeah,
in that range.
Agree.
I think
is Adams going to go ahead of him? Do you think that would happen?
So if Adams and Rodgers stay in Green Bay next year, I think he would go ahead of Chase.
Okay, but
there's a good chance Adams leaves. There's a good chance Rodgers leaves. So I don't know whether Rodgers retires or gets traded or whatever happens. Mm-hmm. And Adams is a free agent, isn't he? So he says he wants to stay in Green Bay unless Rodgers does. So there's uncertainty there. So for right now, I would leave Adams out. And then the only other guy is probably Tyreek Hill and Jefferson, maybe Debo, maybe Diggs. I don't think any of those guys, though. Maybe Jefferson. I could see Jefferson or Tyreek Hill maybe going ahead of Chase, but it's going to be a conversation. He's going to be in the mix. And I think the way the hype is right now for Chase, and it's only going to get better, right? Or more hype at least. So I could see Chase going ahead of those guys. For the 112, though, I'm going to leave the receivers out of it because I don't know who to choose between Hill and Jefferson and Adams. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take DeAndre Swift because that's, I think, in PPR who I would take around this point. Okay. We saw what he could do this year in a horrible offense, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Not horrible, but not a great offense. Bottom 10 in the league. Even was it bottom 5 actually? I think it was kind of bottom 5.
Yeah.
And he still averaged 16 points per game in PPR, which according to our like messed up rankings, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would put him 8th among running backs in PPR. That's what makes Swift so deadly. I think is his ability in the passing game. The coaching staff saw that this year. There's even times where they were kind of going easy on him, knowing what their record was, not giving him an insane workload. He just gets a slightly better workload next year. They get a slightly improved offense, and he's going to be a PPR machine next year.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if they keep Jared Goff, that is mainly the reason why he had so many targets.
That's true. He's a very good pass catching running back anyway.
Oh yeah, he's a very good pass catching running back anyway. I mean, if they get a rookie too, I don't see the throwing to the running back situation changing much, because I don't know that they're going to go out and get Russ or Jimmy G or Aaron Rodgers or any guys like that. I mean, Rodgers would totally go to Detroit just to poop on Green Bay because that's what he is.
No, I think Detroit's either going to stick with Goff or draft
a quarterback and stick with Goff. Could go either.
True. Yeah, that's because they won't draft them with the second overall pick. They draft a quarterback. It would be they have 2 first rounders, so it would be their second first rounder.
Yeah, I agree. But Swift is a great selection here. You could have also gone. I feel like there is after Swift. Here. Say it again.
There's still some names.
There's still some names there, and like in terms of where the situation is, like Aaron Jones is still available, but I do feel like when you talk about like there is a drop off in tiers after Swift, especially.
Do you think James Conner is in the discussion? I mean. Not at the top 12, but if the situation,
I don't think he's going to get taken until the 3rd round, to be honest with you. Okay. And I think the same thing about Fournette.
All right. Yeah, Fournette might go a little higher than Connor, but I agree. But
you got to remember, you got guys like Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins.
Yep. Yeah, I was just going to say Cam Akers, man. Where does he? Probably 2nd round. Dobbins, same thing. Gibson is still a
you got Zeke
guy.
Still available.
Zeke is still available. The wild card, man, Elijah Mitchell, like where does he fall into all this? He finished pretty high for a rookie as well. David Montgomery, it probably wouldn't be the 2nd round, but
3rd round
is running back to consider it. Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, obviously, especially if Melvin Gordon's gone, which I think he will be.
A lot of really good running backs in the 2nd round. This is the year. Usually it flips. Last year, a lot of young running backs going in the 1st round, and I felt like by the end of the 2nd, there was nothing available besides Swift, and I was forced to take him. But I feel like this year we got a lot of guys that are got, and this is before we get to rookie running backs coming into situations like, if Buffalo drafts a running back, or if who else is out there? Houston needs a running back.
Sure.
So there's a lot of teams out there that need a running back. If they get a workhorse guy, that could be it. But anyway, 1st round. Mock draft in the books. Jonathan Taylor 101, Derrick Henry 102, Christian McCaffrey 103, Najee Harris 104, Dalvin Cook 105, Austin Eckler 106, Alvin Kamara 107, Cooper Kupp 108, Nick Chubb 109, Joe Mixon 110, Jamar Chase 111, and then DeAndre Swift 112.
There we go. It's pretty good. It sounds pretty good to me.
I feel a lot better about this 1st round mock than I did last year's.
Me too.
The outlier is probably going to be DeAndre Swift. I don't know why, but I like the pick anyway. So it is what it is. Enjoy your divisional round weekend. Go Bengals.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.